Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss Book 40 in R.L. Stine's Goosebumps original series, Night of the Living Dummy 3. So we have Slappy back. Now, what's he doing in this attic with all these other dummies here, right? We've seen him gone from a pawn shop to a house, to a pawn shop, to a house, to a garbage can, to a house. So, last time we seen Slappy, um, let me put this down as we discuss things. February 96, right? February 96, book 40. Okay. Last thing we see of Slappy in Night of the Living Dummy 2, he is destroyed. That family, cracks his head in two. A white worm comes out and slithers away, right? So then that carcass is thrown in the dumpster, thrown in a trash can. And Trina and Dan Odell, their father, Dan Sr. Odell, finds this massacred corpse of a ventriloquist dummy in the trash can, and it has to be the same town, right? Same area, obviously. And he takes the dummy home, and he was a ventriloquist back in the day. He has a bunch of like 11, 10 dummies upstairs, 12 dummies upstairs, something like that, in the attic from his past. And so he brings the dummy home, he glues the head back together, cleans them up, puts them on the chair, with his other dummies. There's chairs, there's couches somewhere on the floor, whatever. So Trina and Dan Odell are on their spring break. Their cousin Zane is coming over with his uncle, with their uncle, Zane's father, for the spring break. They all have the same spring break together, week of spring break. And so Dan and Trina start to like prank themselves, but they also start to prank Zane because they've always been pranking Zane and scaring him in general. And now that they have a new dummy who has this random piece of paper in his pocket that they read off the magical words, kahu, whatever, something, something, right? So then creepy stuff starts to happen. What's happening? So Zane's camera's destroyed. There's, a dining room table massacre of food everywhere. Dummies being placed in certain areas. Dummies being placed in the kitchen, in the bedrooms, things, right? Trina and Dan eventually figure out, what's going on. They want to try to capture Zane in the act, but it turns out it's Slappy the entire time, obviously, who came back to life because the magic words were said. And so now it's a matter of what do you do? So they tie him up, tie his limbs together, throw him in the well in the backyard, and then Slappy comes back, that next morning, soaking wet in the kitchen. Dad's furious, obviously. And so now it's a matter of what do? You know that this dummy is alive, and you know that it's causing chaos, but nobody believes you, just like the first book, just like the second book. So then it's a matter of trying to get people to believe you. But the second book, they had people believing, right? I liked that a lot. First one was okay. Second one was much better. Third one was okay. Wasn't great, but it was okay. It was still good within the Slappy verse. And Slappy's a main character within the Goosebumps franchise, so we all know and love Slappy. He up to his mischief. His TV episodes are always creepy and spooky, and Trick or Treat Studios has amazing prop replicas. Like, Slappy's everywhere. He's been around for 30 years, right? And so, getting the resolution of Slappy, and by saying the magic words again, thinking it would put him to sleep, but it doesn't, it brings the other dummies to life, and they all attack him. And then Trina then gives Slappy to Zane to go home with him, in a, hey, or happy early birthday. You want to be a ventriloquist now? Take the dummy. But there's no like complete resolution. Obviously, we don't know what happens next within, Zane's possession of Slappy within this particular book. We don't know what happens with the other dummies now that Slappy and his magical piece of paper have left the house. Are those 11 dummies still alive because now that Slappy's left? Or does the magic go with him? What was the point of the white worm coming out of his head in the second book if the magic words are the only things that actually bring this dummy to life? So it's obviously the magic words mixed in with the wooden body, has nothing really to do with the worm inside. So like certain things are introduced within this canon that are irrelevant but need further explanation. I know Slappy's in a bunch of other books, in spin-off Goosebumps series, which eventually, years from now, after I get through my list of TBR, my to-be-read list, we'll get to. But I think overall, there's only 3 Night of the Living Dummy books in the original 62 book series, in the original 62 Goosebumps books, 92 to 97. So this being the third and final Slappy book in the original Goosebumps series, I think it's fine. It leaves on an appropriate cliffhanger. Of course I want to know what happens next. What happens with all those dummies that are now alive, or are they no longer alive? And what happens with Zane now taking possession of Slappy? things, right? I also like that they called him Smiley through most of this and didn't know his actual name until Slappy says, "My name's not Smiley, it's Slappy." So I thought that was an entertaining scene. Some parts were really good. This went very quick. It holds your attention. I had no qualms with the pacing. Pacing was appropriate. It's 12-year-olds trying to figure out what to do. How do you convince your parents that this doll is actually alive and causing mischief? Are they going to believe you? Are they only going to be believing you when they actually see it? Things, right? Things. Photography was a big thing in this as well. Trying to prove something, that the only way to prove something is by getting it on film. But then what happens when the film is exposed to light and obviously it's destroyed, so you can't prove it. Things. I thought it was good. I thought it was well done. Book 40 in R.L. Stine's Goosebumps original series, Night of the Living Dummy 3. We have 22 books left. We have to do this before Halloween. Our pacing is okay. We're still good to do 22 more books. I'm currently recording this on July 27th. So July 27th, I have 22 more books, and we have 3 months, technically. We have 97 days left until Halloween. I think we can do it. I think we can do it. No pressure on myself, but I think we can do it. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.